Arana, silver, sword, and stone, three crucibles in the Latin American story. Embark on a fascinating journey through Latin American history with Arana's silver, sword, and stone, three crucibles in the Latin American story. In this summary, we explore the enduring impact of precious metals, invasion, and religion on the continent. Spain's colonization and subsequent need for gold and silver brought about bloodshed, exploitation, and devastation that spans several centuries. Despite gaining independence and experiencing political shifts, Latin American countries still suffer from these historical burdens affecting their economies, social structure, and environment.
Latin America's precious metal obsession. An exploration of Latin America's enduring obsession with precious metals, from the Incas and Aztecs to modern-day miners, and its impact on the region's history. In Latin America, the pursuit of precious metals runs deep. From ancient times to modern-day miners, Latin Americans have been captivated by gold and silver. Despite the enviable modern mining operations undertaken by North American mining companies and multinational corporations, the locals continue their traditional ways of extracting gold. This subterranean desire to obtain glittering treasures defines Latin Americans and their history. The Spanish colonial rule set a dark precedent of cruelty and exploitation in Latin America's quest for silver and gold, which has continued through wars of independence, civil wars, and military coups. However, extracted resources are still viewed as Latin America's primary hope for a prosperous future. An aging woman's daily climb up the Peruvian Andes, from her hut in search of gold, is a poignant reminder of the deep-rooted cultural ties to precious metals and the hope they represent. Bolivia's silver legacy. Bolivia's high plateau was once a thriving mining metropolis that extracted over 100 million pounds of silver between 1600 and 1700. However, the mining has left the region barren, and not much remains today. Prior to the Spanish arrival, the Incas extracted silver and gold solely for religious purposes. But Lord Inca Huayna Capac changed this by commissioning gold statues and increasing mining, revealing a desire for personal luxury. The silver extracted from Bolivia's mines financed Europe, but it came at a great cost to the region's landscape. The conquest of the New World. Christopher Columbus promised gold and vast riches to the Spanish crown, but his discoveries only revealed the power to exploit the people he found in the New World. Although he didn't find much gold, Columbus realized that he could manipulate the indigenous peoples to his advantage. He was the first of many explorers who came after him to exploit the New World. Cortés, Pizarro, Balboa, and Soto were among the second generation of explorers who sought to expand and exploit the conquest in a more intensive way. Cortés reached Mexico and learned of the Aztec Emperor Montezuma's wealth. However, Montezuma didn't fully understand the Spaniards' fixation on gold, which was like currency in Europe. Cortés enlisted Montezuma's enemies and conquered the Aztecs. The Spaniards looted all the gold treasure they could find from the Aztecs, but it proved insufficient. The Spaniards wanted silver too. When Columbus set foot on American soil, he did more than enter a new world, he stepped into a new age. Note, the summary has been rewritten and formatted as per the provided instructions. The Gold Rush of Pizarro. The Spanish conquistadors were a group of adventurers and family members seeking fame and wealth. Jealous of Cortés's success, Pizarro organized a voyage to Peru to seek riches. There, he discovered the sophisticated Incan civilization with vast treasures fashioned from silver and gold. Pizarro hoodwinked and trapped the Incan army using the same strategies Cortés used against Aztecs. He looted vast quantities of treasure from Inca territories and obtained 70 tons of silver and 10 tons of gold worth $500 million in today's currency. Pizarro's successful execution of Atahualpa spurred a vast influx of precious metals into Europe and affected Peru's future as well. Peru's ongoing gold rush. Peru's quest for gold spans centuries, dating back to the conquest that fueled an age-old fever and stymied the Incas. Despite civil wars and bad governance, Peru's economy thrives largely due to precious metals. Peru's most valuable export remains mining, and the country continues to have a ravenous lust for gold and other minerals. However, more than 25% of gold extraction in Peru is illegal and connected to organized crime, making much of today's mining in Latin America illegal. Gold is a finite resource, which is why its value is high and multinational mining companies comb the world for it. Mining in Latin America. Despite advances, mining in Latin America remains trapped in a colonial mindset that divides occupiers from the occupied, with workers still toiling in dangerous conditions for little pay. Companies from China, Canada, and the US extract most of the resources, leaving environmental devastation and chronic poverty behind. As the world's largest gold consumer, China plays a significant role in perpetuating the problem. Mining is even illegal in the most productive regions of Latin America, yet little has changed in over a millennium. Violence shaped the story. The collision between Latin America's indigenous people and the Spanish was a product of shared beliefs that circumstances justify violence, and that only strong and brutal leaders can keep things under control. The Spanish's violent history, coupled with slaughtering of numerous Jews and Muslims, laid the foundation for mass slaughter that became normal within decades of their arrival in Cuba. Scholars believe that between 40 and 140 million indigenous people lived in Latin America before colonization, but within 100 years, fewer than 9 million remained. Violent revolts swept across South America following Bolivar's and San Martin's revolutions, which brought staggering bloodshed and intensified the anger among indigenous people. The post-independence conflicts in Mexico, Venezuela, and between the Mayans, witnessed a significant loss of lives. This violent history still echoes today and shapes the story of Latin America. The struggle for democracy in Latin America. Latin America's history is characterized by authoritarianism. The Aztecs, the Incas, and later the Spanish all ruled with iron fists. Despite a few attempts at democracy, warlords, generals, and dictators dominated after gaining independence from Spain. Even champions of egalitarianism like Bolivar embraced authoritarianism. Pervasive caste systems and white entitlement continued to undermine progress, and Bolivar believed dictatorial rule was necessary for Latin America. This propelled the region into a cycle of anarchy and authoritarianism that led to civil wars and political assassinations. Turbulent Latin America. The assassination of Colombian presidential candidate Jorge Gaitan sparked mayhem in Bogotá that led to a civil war lasting into the 21st century. Religion played a pivotal role in the region's extractive and violent upheavals. The Catholic Church contributed to this turbulence by cooperating with the conquerors and forcing conversions. The harsh economic inequalities, violence and corruption that riddle Latin America continue to this day as a result of colonization and exploitation, starting with the Spanish and continuing with the actions of the upper classes.
In conclusion, silver, sword, and stone, three crucibles in the Latin American story, provides a riveting look at the lasting legacy of Latin America's past, forged through Spanish conquest, precious metal extraction, and the powerful influence of religion. From the earliest days of the Incas and Aztecs, to modern-day mining, violence, and economic disparities, Latin America's story remains intertwined with these foundational elements. As the continent continues to grapple with the consequences of its historical experiences, it is crucial to understand the origins and progression of these forces, shaping its future in the process.